Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Belgian Waffle Show podcast. On this episode, we have a good chat with Kristin Mayer of Betty Designs. And, Kristin's a really cool girl. She's a staple in the Southern California community with cycling with her brand Betty Designs. And she has done the Belgian Waffle Ride now for the past few years. And she's done the wafer, the waffle. She's kind of done it all. So we really break down her experiences with it, her choice in setup, her thoughts on female participation, her tips and tricks, and just kind of a really, really good, well-rounded episode where I feel like we get a lot of good little nuggets out of it. So hopefully you guys enjoy, and let's get right into it. All right, for this episode of the Belgian Waffle Show podcast, we have Kristin Mayer of Betty Designs, who is a staple in the cycling community, especially for Southern California. So, Kristin, thank you for coming on, sharing some time with us today. And how are you doing over there?
I'm doing awesome. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. I'm stoked, man. I love this event. So, stoked to be talking about it with you.
No, you're definitely one of the first people I put on the list. I want to chat with you. I see you at the Belgian Waffle Survival Camp. You're a local in the scene. You're a supporter. You've got your brand, of course. So, I can't go without talking to you on the show. So, to start off with, Kristin, how many times have you done BWR?
This will be year 5, but the asterisk is the first year I did it, which was 2016, no, 15, I did the wafer. So my first one, I did the wafer because I was really new at the whole, skinny tires on dirt and quite frankly, just new to dirt in general. And then I've done 3 waffles. And this year we're going for number 4.
Nice. So going back to like say that first BWR, when you first started to hear about it, because obviously I'd consider you a local, you live in the area. So when this new event starts to come about and you start hearing about it, what were your first initial thoughts when hearing about the Belgian Waffle Ride?
So I'm trying to remember exactly who introduced me to it or if I just saw the marketing. And a couple of things. One, I think the first year we did the wafer, we did it with a couple of friends, and he's done a lot of mountain biking. So he's one of those guys, he's just up for anything. And he was like, he said to Matt and I, hey, do you guys want to join us? We're going to do it. And we said, sure, not really understanding what it was. But the second part of it was, I think I saw some marketing because I'm not sure, but I think Michael Marks was at SPY at the time. But the marketing that came out surrounding the event was so great to me. It captured my attention. It was just unique. And so that coupled with, some friends that kind of talked us into it, I was like, okay, let's just do this because I can sleep in my own bed kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a plus. So so doing that first one, that was the wafer, how'd you feel through it? Was it like what you expected? Was it like way crazier? Or what was kind of like that first vibe of your first time?
The funniest thing about the first one is, I don't remember training on any dirt for it, which was really, I really, really don't. And the only part I remember about the course was that year we finished riding some random concrete, friggin' steep hills out in the Vista area. And I remember I could barely get up this concrete section. I don't remember the dirt at all, which makes absolutely no sense because I'm terrified of the dirt.
That is pretty funny.
That's all I remember about that first year. And I remember thinking, that wasn't so bad. So I think after that year, it got gnarlier with the dirt stuff. I don't know.
I don't know for sure exact, so don't quote me, or obviously Michael knows for sure, but I do believe the dirt has become more and more each year, or maybe the last year. I think it's even out, but that is definitely for sure. I would guess. So let's so you do the wave for the first year, and then you're like, okay, gonna go big and gonna own it, and I'm gonna do the waffle. Let's, maybe to someone that has done the wafer and they're a little nervous about the waffle, what's that jump like going from, that to that? Because that's a pretty big jump.
It's a pretty big jump. And I think it just depends how you get through the wafer. I mean, if the wafer for you is like you're done and you're like, wow, that is the hardest thing I've ever done. It was so long, like, holy moly, because I think of it in length of endurance event. Then I would say, maybe, just know it's going to be, it's not just, I don't know, it's a pretty big jump, I would say. And for me, like I said, we finished it and we were like, okay, that was really hard and challenging, but now we got to do the long one. So we're kind of a little bit crazy like that. So it just depends kind of where your fitness and your experience is at. And I've done a lot of endurance training. So for me, I wanted to go longer. That was really the thing because that scared me to be on a bike for that long.
Obviously, like the courses differ every year and the mileage differ, but do you remember like estimate like what your wafer time was around and then jump into the waffle, like that time gap as far as not gap, but like, oh, it took me 4 or 5 hours for this, took me 7, 8 for this one now.
I can't remember my exact wafer time, but I think it was somewhere. My times are not impressive, John, so this is embarrassing, but I think it was like literally.
I thought you won this whole thing. That was this
yeah.
We're talking with the champion of VWR.
Yeah, we're going to go back and talk about my placing in the first waffle in just a second. But I think we were around 5 hours and 20 minutes. I don't know. I'd have to go look in the wafer. And so I thought, okay, knowing endurance events, you can't just double that time, right? That's not how you do it. So we're going to train, but it's going to be, I realistically thought we were going to be out there for 12 hours. And my husband's like, I can't ride for 12 hours. And I said, well, I don't know if I can either, but he's just saying it in a different way. Like, you better not go that slow. So we trained for it. Yeah. So we trained for it and we get out there and I said, you know what? And the thing about this event was there were hardly any women that did it. And it was also the women that did it were like legit cyclists. So I kind of had no business showing up to the full distance, but that's what intrigued me. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to be last and that's going to be okay with me because that's kind of cool. Like, someone's got to be last. I really didn't care. This wasn't triathlon. So the first year we were out there for 12 hours and 4 minutes.
So you did make the 12-hour mark.
I'm pretty accurate in my estimates most of the time in my abilities. So it was 12 hours and 4 minutes. We did it on standard road bikes, more like aggressive racing road bikes with rim brakes. And we rode 28 road tires. And all I remember is my upper body was absolutely destroyed.
And did you run tubes or tubeless by chance?
We rode tubeless. We've been riding tubeless because we switched back then and we will never go back to tubes ever again. But we finished and I finished in 12:04 and I was really angry because, believe it or not, I was not last. I was second to last.
So you're a champion.
So
exactly what I was getting to.
Well, I was super bummed because who cares about second to last? Like, you win or you're last. Like, those are
you want to have that red number on your back for the next year.
Yeah, hell yeah.
The Lantern Rouge of VWR.
But honestly, it was so cool to having done it. It was a big accomplishment because like I said, I'm petrified of the dirt and it was a long day and I didn't know if I really could do it. So that was the first one, the first full one.
So you've got an endurance background. Obviously this is completely different from other endurance events, but like, have you been on the bike for 12 hours before at an event?
No, I had done one
prior to that.
No, never. I had done one Ironman. And that was back in 98 because I just found that the training so ironically, I didn't love the bike as a triathlete and I did not love to just spend hours and hours on the bike. So I did one Ironman and I had done 1 century and that was it. And that was a long, long time ago. So I started riding bikes after I stopped triathlon basically, which is really funny.
That's actually an interesting comparison. I haven't chatted with anyone that's done Ironmans and VWR, but obviously it's it was a while ago you did it, but like what is this? Almost like the similarities and differences from, I did an Ironman to I did VWR and I was on the bike for 12 hours. Like, how can you like kind of pull those together or separate them?
So in the way that they were similar to me, when I went into BWR, I thought it was going to be an Ironman. Mentally, in terms of the endurance challenge and being out there and fueling all day and saying, okay, do I have, can I endure this thing and can I get to the finish line? Because you're going to have rough patches. There's no doubt. And you're going to have to overcome them. And I'm super stubborn. So like in Ironman, I remember my thing was I'm not going to walk during the marathon. And everyone's like, oh, you got to walk every aid station. I'm like, I'm not walking. This is a marathon.
Not stubborn at all.
Not stubborn at all. So it was kind of one of those things, but I knew duration wise what I was mentally getting into. The difference, in terms of sport, triathlon's great in that you split it into 3 things. I love that because it really changes it up. And when I raced triathlon, my thing, and I was not racing Ironman. I was very green in my triathlon career when I did my Ironman, but the bike was the method to get to the run for me because I loved running more than I loved cycling. And I knew that that's where I'd make my mark. So the bike was just, I mean, yeah, I remember I did it on a titanium bike in a bikini, no pad, in my bottoms. And I was all alone on the bike. I rode really slow. Like everyone went by me on the bike. And then I ran a lot of people down. That was my story. And I was miserable on the bike. And I was only on the bike for 6 hours. So I had no idea what it was going to be like to be on a bike for 12 hours. But I don't know. It wasn't that bad. It really wasn't.
Yeah. Now, when you say it wasn't that bad, was that you think because you paced yourself correctly, or you're on your nutrition, or you just didn't go too far in the red too early, or like how was like you knew you were going to be on the bike for a long time that first time, so like what was your mental like prep going in of like, hey, I got to do X, Y, and Z and make sure I don't get in trouble out there?
It was don't even think about going in the red at all. You're so new to this. 2, keep the rubber side down because the dirt scared the you know what out of me. And 3, I better use my triathlon endurance training nutrition plan and be on an eating schedule, because if I don't, I will not make it to the finish line.
So like touching on that, I'm always curious because, and for myself and the past person, like everyone's kind of got a different nutrition plan of as far as like what works for them, what doesn't work for them. So like what, in your opinion, is kind of your go-to nutrition, what you like to use, or like how often you like to eat or drink for like such a long event like this?
So BWR is interesting only because we hit the dirt so early, because that changes my nutrition a little, and I'll speak to that. But for me, if I can get in 300 calories an hour, that would be phenomenal. That's incredibly hard to do, especially when you're riding dirt. But what I do is I eat a pretty good chunk in the morning, like 700-800 calories. And then
what's your morning breakfast kind of look like for that?
Oh boy, this is going to be a good one. So
cannot wait.
So I have all kinds of superstitions from my racing days. And once I find something that works, I don't change it. So I get up, I'll have a tablespoon of nut butter. I'll pace around the house, and then I crack the Diet Coke can, room temperature. I love a Diet Coke in the morning. I'm not a coffee drinker.
Oh man.
I only drink coffee.
That sounds rough.
I love a Diet Coke, room temperature, and I'm drinking a little coffee only because I know the chemicals in Diet Coke are terrible for me. So I'm cutting back on the Diet Coke right now. But I crack the can, and then I eat this cookie. There's a cookie that I buy, and I literally must buy 200 cookies from this company every year. It's an alternative baking company cookie, and it's a big chocolate chip cookie, and it's got 500 calories in it. And I ate it during my triathlon days before long runs and rides, and I ate it before races. And so that's what I eat.
That's not your everyday breakfast, right? That's just for like the big ones.
No, it's big training day breakfast, and it is racing day breakfast. So Diet Coke possibly every day.
Diet Coke. Oh man, that's rough. Diet Coke and a cookie and a tablespoon of nut butter.
Yes, and then right before the start, I'll throw down like a pack of like a Gatorade Endurance gel packet or something like that, just to get some last minute calories in right before the start.
This is why I ask these questions, because you're having a Diet Coke and a cookie, and then like Ryan Steers is eating baby food on the bike. Like it's just everyone has just got their own thing. It's hilarious, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, it is hilarious, and I think it's whatever works. The bottom line is you got to eat. So whatever that is for you, just no judgment on anyone what they're putting in.
No, that's the key thing. That's why I think everyone's different. They have to kind of like find what works for them, because you have to find what you can stomach and what you can put down. And if you don't, then you're just, you're going to be SOL. But so I'm always curious what people find that works for them. And yours is definitely at the top of the list. That's amazing.
Well, and then the start of the race, we have the neutral rollout, and then we do this crazy frenzy to get to the single track, which I hold back a little because I'm so nervous, A, riding in a pack, and B, getting to dirt, that my heart rate is so sky high that I get to that dirt and I got to calm myself down. And there's no way I'm going to take my hands off the bars and throw some food in the first hour. So I've got a bottle that's basically Gatorade Endurance and Carbo Pro. So it's about a 450 calorie bottle. And I make sure that bottle is down by and in my system by the base of Highland Valley. And now that's if we do the same exact rollout this year.
So what, like, yeah, like people that don't know these names, what you're talking about, like what
Yeah.
about, how much time is that about before you
That's
get there?
about, it's not that long. I think it was around mile 20 last year to the base.
Okay. So you're looking at like just under an hour.
Yeah, I really try and get the calories in early because I know what happens and my stomach can handle it. And then, so that's my plan. And then while I go, and then I try and ride steady up Highland Valley because that's a solid climb and that's half an hour and for me. And, you know, I'm trying to hit it, you know, kind of tempo effort. And then, you know, you get to the top of that and, you know, so you're another 6, 7, 8 miles in and then you're going into Ramona and it's flat where you can actually, you know, start chewing on something, I think, at that point. But for me, I kind of panic eat in the beginning a little bit, just because I know as time goes on, I'm going to just burn so much faster through everything. Yeah.
No, that's smart. That's kind of getting the general sense of what I've been getting feedback on, is a lot of people are doing really heavy as far as calorie wise in their first bottles because of that dirt section. Because you can't really take your hands off the bars, and before you know it, you're 2 hours in, and you're like, oh, I haven't really eaten anything yet. Yeah. So. I want to touch on what you kind of said earlier when you were talking about like when you did the waffle, there weren't that many girls, and even though you did beat one, so champion effort there. But
don't you make fun of me, John? Come on now.
I would never. Legend. So what? Obviously, BWR is pushing really hard on their end to kind of get more girls on board. They're doing the buy one get one sign up for the waffle. There's all these cool little things that they're doing for, be more proactive about it. What have you noticed from being a girl and, a participant in BWR? Like, have you noticed a rise in numbers? Or, I mean, it's a very common topic of people talking about, more girls in the sport. How do they do it? Or how do they get more girls in the sport? I mean, have you seen a notice in rise, or has it kind of been like up and down? Or, what's kind of your feedback on that?
So I think I'm in kind of a unique situation because with Betty Designs and the girls, our ambassadors, we're all chit-chatting all the time and we all know what each other are up to. And, my girls are pretty much triathletes. And yes, some of them mountain bike race for sure and trail race and all those kinds of things. But in general, they're triathletes. And a lot of them don't even own a road bike, so much less a mountain bike. And since I've been doing this, some of the girls have been around for a couple of years now, and they always ask me about it, and they know I do it. And the interest has definitely peaked. And I know that this year I think we have a couple new girls that are in the Betty squad that are doing the wafer. And so I do, and I think that there are more women in general looking at this because it's a lot of people are just wanting to get off the road with their bikes because it's so dangerous now. That's really the big thing. So, and how can they do something if they're not racing triathlon? They want to train, or maybe they want to do it with their boyfriend, their husband, or their best friend or whatever, who maybe isn't a triathlete. So I do think it's increasing. I've seen more interest. The hard part for me is, I'm actually really truthful when a specific girl asks me if she should do the waffle ride. I won't just say, yeah, you got to do it. And it depends on who's asking. And I'm just really careful about that because I do think it's not for everybody. And I do, I take it seriously in the sense of, I think you really can get hurt out there. And it's not just doing a fondo. I think you got to know what you're getting yourself into and not just look at, oh, this person did it, I can go do it too.
No, that's a good point.
But that's just me. And, you guys might be upset with me for saying that, but I do think there's
some
caution
I mean, that's
there.
where we're getting honest feedback. Definitely. I mean, that's the BWR is its own thing, and it has a little bit of everything. And, that's why, we try to get the point out as far as, educational purpose to, hey, this is what is out there. This is what you're expecting. Here's the sectors. So, hopefully people are the most prepared going into it and they don't get caught off guard. So kind of touching on that though, what do you feel like, do you have any, because I just feel like it's a very big talking point right now, getting more girls in the sport, and not so much BWR, just kind of in general.
Yep.
Like, what
Yep.
do you have any tips, or like, do you kind of look at that and go like, oh, maybe if more girls knew about this, or they're interested in that, or like, like I said, like, being a girl, like how do you see that? Like maybe rising or, getting more people on board.
So here's what I really think. I think, well, first of all, I want to circle back for just a second. I think I would recommend to most women, get out and ride your bike on dirt and try the wafer. No doubt.
Totally.
Because that's a piece that you can bite and chew and just get through it. I think if you're any kind of an endurance athlete and you have the head for it. But I think, I think we should throw a women's gravel camp, because I really believe that women are unique in the sense of they want to be around other women. And it's not that you want to exclude. I love being around the guys. Trust me. I love guys. Like, guys growing up and stuff were my best friends more than girls. But when it comes to this kind of stuff, I feel like there's a whole bonding thing that really happens. And it would be so great to have a few key women from the sport and just have a casual gravel camp. And maybe it's not hitting the technical BWR sectors. Maybe it's introducing them by putting them, on something more like a Black Canyon. That's too hard to get to, but you know what I'm saying? I think there's room
totally,
for that.
Like a gravel camp 101, because that's definitely, I've noticed that as well. Like,
yeah.
I'm a little skewed with my background with it, but like a lot of people don't have that background of riding on dirt, or, they're just kind of, a roadie per se, or a triathlete that gets into road cycling. So they kind of miss the whole dirt stuff. So like,
right.
Yeah, there's definitely a need for that, I believe. And I have heard that before. I mean, not just the women's perspective only, but like, something like that, like a skills camp or something like that to, help on the dirt.
There's just different tips, I think. Yeah. I mean, I think there's just tips that, you pick up by learning from other people and being in that environment where you're all kind of on the same level and you're there to learn, not to race or whatever. But I think it would be really, really great.
Yeah. And it's like the simplest things can, going around a corner on the dirt, really, weighing outside pedal, or, sitting towards the back through the sandy stuff to keep your front end light, like, basic stuff like that. Maybe some people don't know. And like, it really does help. So,
it does help.
No, yeah. I like that. I like that idea. So speaking on that, before wrapping this up, we talked about your bike in the first one you did, and 28 rim brakes. You were tubeless though, so you're a little ahead of the curve on that one. I like that. What's your bike looking like for this year? Because obviously like technology's changed, the industry's changed. You can kind of adapt your bike a little more to these events. So, and with your experience of the event, like how do you build your bike, and what are you doing to be like ready for BWR equipment wise?
So I would say, going into the third year in our second Waffle, we invested in gravel bikes. We knew that riding those aggressive road geometries were not the smartest thing. After doing it a couple years in a row, for two reasons. One, just the geometry and your upper body taking the hit. And then second of all, just not the ability to accommodate a wider tire. And we just wanted to be a little more upright on the bike and more comfortable, especially for doing the Waffle where you're out there all day long. So we've got gravel bikes. I'm riding the Trek Damani right now. I love it. That's the one I've been riding for a few years. I have not changed from the 28 tires.
Okay. So you're sticking on the 28s. Even with the dirt.
Even if I'm going to be last, I'm a competitor. I want to get to the finish line as fast as possible. And no matter what tire I run, I'm going to not be comfortable on the dirt mentally. And so no tire is going to help me get through the dirt. But if I ride a tire to make me a tiny bit mentally more comfortable on the dirt, I'm going to go a lot slower on the road. At least that's what I think, because I'm not a very big person and I'm not very strong. So
if you're running 28s, what do you, and you're a smaller, lighter person, what do you run in tire pressure for that?
Oh boy, I'm going to get in a lot of trouble for this because, the guys were hammering me on this. So I'm the queen of running my tire pressure too high.
Yeah, solid, Brody.
I run it at 80. Oh. And so I am bouncing all over the place through Hodges Rock Garden. And last year I bounced so much because I hit a rock. I went up and over my bars and got right back up and kept going. It was actually kind of fun.
Sounds like it.
So I don't know. I mean, I hear mixed things, and I probably this year actually will ride them at like 70.
Okay.
I'm learning to take the pressure down a
5 years
tiny bit.
later, coming down 10 pounds. I like it.
You know what? At camp, I tried a wider tire and less pressure, and I hated it. And it could be that I
Really?
wasn't used to it. Didn't like it at
Well,
all.
just out of curiosity, like, so like what stood out when you tried that? Like you're
So
like, oh, I actually didn't like this.
I felt like because I don't have great mountain bike skills, so I'm not bunny hopping everything like most people
Yeah.
are. So when I hit something, I was hitting it. Like, and instead of just going over it, I was sort of like getting stuck, I felt like, and felt like I was bottoming out. I don't know. I didn't like it. So I'd rather
All
just
right.
bounce right on through, like
Yeah.
tiptoe right on. I don't know.
And it's what you're used to, It's
That's what
like
I'm
your
used
Diet
to.
Coke and cookie. You're used to it.
Yeah.
That's
So
what
I'm going
makes
to
you
say,
happy.
don't
Okay.
follow what I say, but it works for me.
Yeah, find what works for you. All right, well, if that works for you. Okay, so lastly, before ending this, I always like to do this with whoever we're chatting with. And so you've done it. You've got a wealth of knowledge. You're a local. You know the roads and the dirt. You've done the wafer. You've done the waffle. What are your three BWR tips? They can be as general or as, intricate as possible to the person that's never been here. We'll say to the girl that's never been here, we'll get more specific on that doesn't know exactly what they're getting themselves into. They've just kind of seen online and social and listening to these chats. But like, what are your personal three tips for that girl to come here and do the BWR for the first time?
Well, I think the number one is just enjoy it. I mean, smile. It's so much fun. Even when you're scared, it's such a unique event that you can't help but smile when you're doing this thing. Even when it's mile 100, and if you decide to do the waffle and you come back through the rock garden, it's annoying to hit those rocks towards the end of the day. It's not very
Yeah,
fun, but you kind of have
fun.
to laugh, right? And have a sense of humor about it. It's just really enjoy it. Number one. Number two is eat, 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 whether you think you need to or not. And whatever that is for you, just keep putting it in. And especially towards the end, don't stop eating it with like 30 miles to go because it's a long way to go and you've been burning it all day. And
You should not
then,
stop eating until you cross that finish line.
yeah, don't stop eating.
That's a good one.
And yeah. And then, the third one, that's kind of a tough one. Can I have four, John?
I mean, just because it's you, we'll give you four.
Because the
But
fourth one's funny.
I mean, okay, let's do it. Top four.
All right. So the third is, I would say, don't go out there and try and race everyone at the beginning, especially if you're new and you don't know the course. I think redlining really early, it's a long day out there. Like, just be smart. You've been training, you're an endurance athlete. Like, just be smart. Don't get too caught up in it. Cause you don't want to end your day in absolute misery. It's going to be hard enough as it is.
Yeah, you want to enjoy yourself.
You
And,
do.
have a beer at the end and, laugh
Yeah.
and not be taken away in a stretcher because you're wiped out.
Yeah, we're all going to be suffering. And trust me, it's hard. It's hard for everybody, but don't make it any worse than it's already going to be.
I like it.
And,
That's good.
and then the very last thing, which is kind of one of the most important things to me, is wear a cute kit. I mean, honestly, wear something that you
like
just
that
feel
too.
rad
I can vouch
in.
for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know what? If you usually wear black and you're like, oh, I never wear a color that day because you're going to get more cheers and it's fun. And I don't know. Own
Wear
it.
a tank top.
Wear a
Own
tank
it,
top. You know what? That's a good idea. A tank top. I don't know if I can pull that off.
You can pull it off. I did the tank top last year, and the key to pulling that off is getting sunscreen at each aid station.
That's a good point.
And then you'll be good. Tank top, fanny pack. You have to have a smile for that. Can't go wrong.
I know, but you're unique. It's kind of not fair. Like, you could probably take both hands off the bars through the dirt section and apply sunscreen. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, see, then I'll ride with you, and then I'll do the spray sunscreen on you while we're going through the dirt.
All right,
you'll be
deal.
dialed. You'll be fine. Okay,
All right.
Perfect. All right, Kristin. Well, hey, much appreciated for this chat. Like I said earlier, I wanted to get you on this from the get-go. And, looking forward to, I'm sure we'll get a ride in before then. And either way, VWR is going to be fun, and it's fastly approaching. So hopefully you
Yes,
get
it
your
is.
training in and stock up on your cookies and Diet Cokes.
Oh, they're stocked up. Don't you worry.
All right, Kristin. Well, thanks again, and have a
Yeah.
good week, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah. Thanks, John. Take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye.